The first time I saw her, she was lying in the middle of the forest, her body glowing faintly under the moonlight. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, but as I approached, I realized she wasn't human. Her skin was a soft, iridescent silver, and her hair flowed like liquid starlight. She was injured, her breathing shallow, and her luminous eyes were filled with pain. I didn't think twice. I knelt beside her, my medical training kicking in. Her wounds were strange, deep gashes that shimmered with an otherworldly light. I used the supplies from my backpack to clean and bandage her injuries as best as I could. She didn't speak, but her eyes followed my every move, filled with a mix of curiosity and gratitude. When I finished, she reached out and touched my hand. Her fingers were cool, and a strange warmth spread through me, like a gentle pulse of energy. She smiled faintly, and then her eyes fluttered shut as she drifted into unconsciousness. I couldn't leave her there, so I carried her back to my cabin, my mind racing with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? And why was she here? Over the next few days, I tended to her wounds, and she slowly began to recover. She didn't speak, but she communicated through gestures and expressions. I learned that her name was Lyra, and she was from a distant planet. She had been sent to Earth on a mission, but something had gone wrong, and she had crash-landed in the forest. Lyra was fascinated by everything in my cabin. She would touch the walls, the furniture, even the books, as if trying to understand them. Her curiosity was endearing, and I found myself growing attached to her. She had a way of looking at the world that made even the simplest things seem magical. But as the days passed, I noticed something strange. Lyra seemed to grow more attached to me. She would follow me around the cabin, her eyes always on me. At first, I thought it was just gratitude, but it soon became clear that it was more than that. She didn't want to leave my side. One evening, as we sat by the fire, Lyra reached out and took my hand. Her touch was gentle, but there was a seriousness in her eyes that made my heart skip a beat. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice like a melody. It was the first time she had spoken, and I was stunned. "You're welcome," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "But you don't have to stay here. You can go back to your people." Lyra shook her head. "I cannot go back. My mission failed, and my people will not welcome me. But you saved me. You're my home now." I didn't know what to say. Her words filled me with a strange mix of joy and fear. I had grown to care for her, but I wasn't sure if I was ready for the responsibility she was placing on me. As the weeks turned into months, Lyra became a part of my life. She helped me around the cabin, learning to cook and clean, and even tending to the garden. She had a natural talent for healing, and she often helped me with my medical work. But no matter what we did, she never left my side. At first, it was comforting. Having someone who cared for me so deeply was something I had never experienced before. But as time went on, I began to feel suffocated. I loved Lyra, but I also needed space. I tried to explain this to her, but she didn't understand. To her, being apart from me was unthinkable. One day, I decided to take a walk in the forest alone. I needed time to think, to clear my head. But as I walked, I felt a strange sense of unease. It wasn't long before I realized that Lyra was following me. She stayed hidden, but I could feel her presence, like a shadow at the edge of my vision. I stopped and turned around. "Lyra, I know you're there." She stepped out from behind a tree, her eyes filled with worry. "I'm sorry. I can't be apart from you." I sighed, my heart aching. "Lyra, I care about you, but I need some space. I need to be able to breathe." Her eyes filled with tears, and she looked away. "I don't understand. On my planet, when two people are bonded, they are never apart. It is how we show our love." I reached out and took her hand. "I know it's different for you, but here, on Earth, people need space. It doesn't mean I love you any less. It just means I need time to be alone sometimes. Lyra looked at me, her eyes searching mine. Do you still want me to stay? I nodded. Yes, I do. But we need to find a balance. Can you try to understand that? She hesitated, then nodded. I will try. Over the next few months, we worked on finding that balance. Lyra learned to give me space, and I made sure to spend quality time with her. It wasn't easy, but we both made an effort. And slowly, we began to find a rhythm that worked for us. Lyra's presence in my life brought a sense of wonder and magic that I had never known before. She showed me the beauty in the world, and I helped her navigate the complexities of human emotions. We were different, but in many ways, we complemented each other. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the stars, Lyra turned to me. Do you think we will always be together? I smiled and took her hand. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know that I want you in my life, for as long as you'll have me. Lyra's eyes sparkled with happiness, and she leaned her head on my shoulder. Then I will stay with you, always. As we sat there, under the vast expanse of the night sky, I felt a sense of peace. Lyra had come into my life unexpectedly, but she had become an integral part of it. And though our journey had its challenges, I knew that we would face them together. Ending. Years passed, and Lyra and I built a life together. We never found out why she had been sent to Earth, or if her people were still looking for her. But it didn't matter. She had found a new home with me, and I had found a love that transcended worlds. One day, as we walked through the forest where I had first found her, Lyra stopped and looked at me. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found me that night? I smiled and took her hand. I don't like to think about it. All I know is that I'm grateful I did. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, and she hugged me tightly. Thank you for saving me, for giving me a home. I held her close, feeling the warmth of her body against mine. You saved me too, Lyra, in more ways than you know. As we stood there, surrounded by the beauty of the forest, I realized that our love was a testament to the power of connection, no matter where you came from. Lyra had healed me in ways I hadn't even known I needed, and I had given her a place to belong. And so, we continued our journey together, two souls from different worlds, bound by love and the promise of forever.